We therefore cannot underestimate or overlook the value of statistics. And it is my fervent hope that today's public conversation will set us on the right footing and set the tone for putting statistics and the census at the key stage of the Caribbean and the development of our region. Across the countries of the community, statistics help governments to improve their policies and to facilitate transparency and accountability about the delivery, on the delivery of results. At the regional level, data must be compiled and harmonized to ensure that sound, comparable information on the progress of the CSME is known to all. I therefore commend the efforts towards the establishment of a harmonized approach towards the collection of data and for this round of our census programs across the Caribbean. We all know that census plays a vital role in the national statistics system, and that our census data will be used as benchmarks for statistical compilation. The population data that will be compiled will be calculated and as indicators for economic and social statistics. Our population and household data also forms part of the development of the region in ensuring that we understand the growth patterns across the region. I therefore take this opportunity this morning to once again thank and congratulate the statistics bureaus across the region for your contribution, particularly given the challenges that you have faced in accumulating data during this COVID-19 pandemic. I wish all of you tremendous success, and I look forward to the data that shall be produced and for the decisions that shall be made, given the evidence that will emerge from those processes. Once again, I thank you and I wish you a pleasant morning.
And we want to thank you so very much, Dr. Alexis, the Deputy Secretary General of CARICOM, for your opening comments, for providing us some background from the CARICOM level. Of course, the objectives of this activity to inform the public that census is here to promote the value and importance of census, to highlight the important role and responsibility of enumerators and other field staff in conducting the census. Well, we want to get home now, here in Anguilla, the host country for this exercise. And of course, there's been a change in date for census taking here in Anguilla. Laurie Ray Ellen Franklin is the chief statistician of the Anguilla Statistics Department. And we also have with us in studio this morning one of Anguilla's statistics ambassadors, and banks. I'll put Laurie Ray Ellen Franklin to provide an update for us and for the region on what's happening here in Anguilla. Laurie.
Thank you very much, Keith. Good morning, a very good morning to all our listening audience, to those via our social media platforms. And a special good morning to some grade 6. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Keith. Thank you. A very special good morning to some grade 6 students who we have been informed are listening to us this morning. I hope that the information presented will assist in growing your knowledge and information base as it relates to a census. To those watching on the various social media platforms, good morning as well. I wish to take this opportunity to thank CARICOM, and in particular the staff at the Statistics Division, under the able leadership of Dr. Philemon Harrison, who over the years has continued to raise the profile of statistics in the region. She also encourages us as statisticians to keep pushing and aim big. And she's always there to support us. We'll agree that this morning's program would not have been possible without her continued sterling work. Now, in the studio, as Keith has mentioned, is one of Anguilla's statistics ambassadors. And intermittently, he will come in and provide information about how statistics can be used, and the census data in particular is important in the country's development. Mr. Banks is a civil engineer by profession and has spent 35 years in either the public sector, policy formulation, and institutional reform. Anguilla Census Day is now set as June 15. I say now because this is the third occasion that our 2020 round has been rescheduled. Our round, along with the other participants from the region, has been disrupted because of a number of issues. We have been plagued with COVID, the reversion or reassigning of funds to manage that pandemic, as well as each country we would know would have their individual contextual challenges. But the Anguilla Statistics Department is the department tasked with conducting a population and housing census based on our legal mandate. Anguilla now, in this round, will be conducting its 7th census. The upcoming census that we are preparing for was guided and continues to be guided by lessons learned from previous censuses and experience, as well as lessons learned from our sister countries, international agencies, and best practices. One highlight of our 2022 population and housing census will be the use of tablets in the data collection component of the census. Our census this year was guided by a project management approach, a generic statistical business model, as international and regional guidelines. Kind of in the absence of project approaches and models. And this year, Anguilla took this step to design a project document, as well as some other components, Gantt chart, etc., to keep us on track and to keep us clear as to the events that must happen continuously or concurrently. And continuously would be simultaneous, as well as those that must be completed before others are completed. There are 13 interrelated components that we will follow in the execution of our census, and these include planning, cartography, GIS, preparation of fieldwork, enumeration, which would be the fieldwork, and among others. But today, there are a number of key accomplishments that we have reached so far. We've completed the project document, as I said earlier, and that was approved by our executive council here. We have instituted a publicity, promotion, and sensitization campaign internally. That's the officers in the office would work on that, and I'll give some more details as we go along. We have done the training for our field officers, designed and improved the questionnaire with some common questions for the regional approach. We have purchased the majority of our technical equipment, GPSs, tablets, etc. We have purchased our paraphernalia as well, And our manual, I would say, is 99% completed. We have received some feedback in the training, and this is good because those who will be performing the role of enumerators and supervisors would have gone through the manual in the training and provided us with some good feedback testing of the manual. And we have also taken this step this time to create a technical manual as well, something to show the enumerators how to use the tablet, how to charge it, etc. So that's an additional piece of documentation. Upcoming events, we are looking to do a follow-on training for enumerators, those who were selected, and possibly an additional training for new ones. But this we would do using a virtual platform because we recorded the training at the first undertaking. And these are some of the points and areas that we have completed up to date. All in all, we take note of a lot of what is happening throughout the region to assist us in bettering what we are undertaking. So I want to also thank my colleagues for sharing as well. If we run into any snags, we are able to pick up the phone and ask a question, and that is always appreciated. So I'll turn you back over to Keith, and during the course of the discussion, I could possibly answer some other questions. Thank you, Mr. Graves.
Thank you very much, Laurie Ray Allen Franklin, the Chief Statistician here in Anguilla.
All right.
So in a moment, I think it's about a good time for us to get our first jingle in.
There you had it from
with their census taking since 2021. Let's say hi and hello now to Mr. Halim Brizan, Director of Statistics at the Central Statistical Office in St. George's, Grenada. Good morning, Halim.
Good morning, Mr. Graves, and a pleasant good morning to all viewers and all listeners to this program. So if I should start, this is by far our most challenging census, but our office remains committed to seeing this process through till the end, given that this is an important activity of nation building, sustainable development, and also building resilience, and it's also fundamental to the development of our own national statistical system. We have been working our way through these challenges, and we are hopeful that we can resolve those in the upcoming months. Our population and housing census, as you said, it started last year. In fact, it was initially scheduled to start on the 15th of September 2021. However, we had no choice to delay the start until November the 10th because of the alarming spread of COVID-19 during that time, in particular the Delta variant, which claimed over 200 lives. Also, there was a curfew in place. So prior to that November 10 date, we could not have gone out into the field. Now, we have also experienced a challenge given the risk of mortality and mobility as a result of COVID. Our government, on the advice of the Ministry of Health, instructed that all census workers take at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. And you would imagine that, as in other Caribbean countries, there's a high level of vaccine hesitancy. And as a result, we lost more than half of our trained field staff. Nevertheless, we did not give up. We thought that it was important to maximize the COVID downtime in November as things were getting back to normal. So we started the enumeration with the enumerators that we had and the supervisors that we had. At the same time, we recruited and trained another batch of prospective field staff with the hope that we can achieve a full complement. However, we only hired about, out of say 300, almost 300 persons trained, we were only able to hire at less than 100 because we had a number of persons dropping out. So we were off to a very slow start, not only because of the limited persons we had to work with us, but also because we took time the enumerators took time to understand the digital platform. You would appreciate that this is the very first time we're doing a completely digital census, and our training, which was completely virtual, did not allow us to do any sort of hands-on training. So we had to spend time in the field ensuring that the enumerators and the supervisors understand what they have to do, right? So now our sole aim for this census is basically to maximize response rate and also to maximize data quality. So we have instituted from the onset 2 options of interviewing, face-to-face and telephone interviewing. And so we can switch it between the two when necessary. So when the virus was of great threat, the focus was on minimizing face-to-face contact. Hence, our main mode was conducting the interviews via the telephone. However, the households were presented with the option of face-to-face interviews. Now, the telephone interviews was not completely via the telephone because we had to make that initial face-to-face contact to collect important information from the household, for example, the telephone numbers, of course, and also information required for listing and georeferencing. We have also adopted very strict protocols for the conduct of face-to-face interviewing because we want to give the public that assurance that they can be safely interviewed. So, so we have taken a number of measures to resolve our challenges, including the dual census mode, the additional training. We even have, given the high rate of dropout, we even have set up a self-training facility so persons can train at their own pace. We even instituted a team approach to assist in speeding up the work. And we have done extensive PR on all platforms, including the television, the radio, the print media, and social media. So I can stop here.
Mr. Zan out of Grenada for that. We are mindful of our time. We are mindful of our time.
We'll get back to you, hopefully, in the wider discussion. In our Dutch-speaking and sister isle of Aruba, they have completed their population and housing census, and they did that in 2020. We have joining us on this CARICOM Census Talk program today, Ms. Desiree Helder, and she is the Deputy Director at the Central Bureau of Statistics. Desiree, thank you for joining us. Share with us some of the key lessons learned from your census taking exercise, having completed yours just over 2 years ago.
Morning, Mr. Greaves. Good morning, CARICOM colleagues. I'm very happy to see you, and good morning, listeners and viewers. Yes, we conducted our 6th Population and Housing Census starting October 1st, 2020, and we finalized the after count on the 31st of March of 2021. We conducted the census for obvious reasons, because data is very important for our islands, very important for planning, and also very important to just know who we are. Because the 4 key questions we wanted to answer with the census were, first, who are we? Who are we in Aruba? How many are we right now, and how many will we be in the future? How do we live, and where do we live? So these 4 key questions were the key questions that led us into the conducting of the census in 2020, and also in the production of the results we obtained. So starting September 2021, we started publishing the data we gathered, and we used video clips, informative video clips, to publish the data so everyone could access the information we collected. Because it is important when you collect data also to show the results, and show the results in a manner that everybody can have access to them, and also can be informed about how they live and how many they are. So these informative video clips we also showed through the television station in Aruba, and we also posted on social media platforms and also on our website, so to make the data readily available. Since also the finishing of the census, we had a lot of, we dedicated a lot of time to have a good look at the data, given that we conducted for the first time a multi-mode census. We conducted the census online, as well as via telephone, as well as in the field with enumerators with tablets. So it was quite a challenge to have the data and the quality of the data checked. And so this was a very great endeavor that we completed in September, and that we are still conducting. So we are publishing the data in bits and in pieces. We started with basic tables that we publish on our website, and on population, the basic tables on population. And we are also building new manners in which we publish the data. For example, we are working with the ArcGIS platform to build social maps and social demographic maps in the form of story maps to publish the data online. It's quite an endeavor when you conduct a census, not only the conduct of the census itself, but also the editing of the data and the publishing of the data. And we all have to remember that we are in a very challenging times, also with the lack of personnel that we have in our offices, because we have to do a lot with a very small team. But it takes a lot of effort, but it's worthwhile, because it's very important to let the public know that it's very important to have data, and data that tells us who we are, because we only can rely on the data that we collect, and that gives a good overview of where we stand right now and where we will stand in the future. So policymakers can make good decisions on the basis of that data. So we urge the population also in Anguilla, that is going to conduct the census shortly, and also in other islands that will be conducting the census in the near future, that please cooperate with the Department of the Central Bureau of Statistics, and cooperate with the census, because the data is for you. Thank you, colleagues, and the best of luck, the best of wishes for you that are going to conduct the census. Thank you.
We want you to get ready. The whole of the Dry Island for the housing census 2021, yeah. This is a call to the nation. I have some information. It's important. I want everyone join us in support of this census. So come here, let's fund the population to give the right amount within you and boy. The entire public, your support, we really need it. AI, starting from the 15th of September, help us count every number. Yeah, to improve the life of the people, we need information, calling out to the nation. We don't want to leave anyone out. So before we get the statistics, you got to partake in it. Yeah, cause the nation depend on you, on you, on you. We never depend on you, on you, on you. Now we go depend on you. Hey, it's a magnet too. We need all of you. Yeah.
From Aruba, we can now move to the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, St. Kitts. Sorry about that. From Aruba, we can now move to the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. And say welcome to the director
Sorry, Mr. Greaves, I'm not sure if you asked me a question, but I couldn't hear you. If you asked me a question, please repeat it.
And Nevis, St. Christopher Nevis, and Carlton Phipps. We can go now to St. Kitts and Nevis and say good morning to Carlton Phipps.
Good morning.
Statistics. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, all. Good morning to our invited guests, to my colleagues, to everyone listening on the airways. A pleasant good morning, all. I would like to thank the CARICOM Secretariat for this opportunity where we can discuss the census activities in terms of what is happening in St. Kitts Nevis and also in terms of the rest of the region. So this is a regional project happening, well, just about the same time across the various countries. And we are happy to join with our colleagues in terms of putting out some information as to what is happening within St. Kitts Nevis. So for us, initially we had our census plan for 2021, but with we had a second, third, and fourth wave. Initially we were set for April. We had a second wave of the COVID-19 virus. We moved it to September. We had the third wave. Then we moved it to January 22. And we had that when we had our fourth wave of the COVID-19 spread of the COVID-19 virus. So we, coming out of that, where cases are relatively low, we now decided to go into the field and try to get our census activities on the way. Our census day was scheduled for April 3rd. We had to delay our start by just about a week because we are having some technical issues, but we have been in the field for just about 2 weeks now. Our activities are ongoing, our data collection, we are promoting our census, our theme being it's You, Me, Us 2021 census. We did keep the theme 21 census because all of our paraphernalia, etc., already had the label 2021 census on it. So we didn't want to go back over that exercise of having them done over. So we are proceeding. If I could look at some of the key challenges that we've been having in terms of moving forward with the census. Of course, there have been budget constraints because with the situation with the pandemic, that a lot of funds were already placed in terms of assisting households, trying to get them back on their feet. And from the Ministry of Finance and that the situation with government revenue, that would have been down significantly because of the downturn in economic activity. So that really sort of put us in a position where we were working with more or less limited funds. Also, in terms of reaching households, updating them about the census, the importance of the census, and etc., trying to convince persons to participate, that require extensive advocacy campaigning, etc., from us, beyond what we would have done, I would say, from past censuses. As Grenada would have mentioned, Mr. Brizan, that for us, it was decided by the COVID-19 task force that all field workers should be fully vaccinated, and that would have significantly impacted the number of persons and the quality of persons that we would have had to start the census. We would have lost, I would say, some of our very good workers who would have served us well in the past, because for one reason or the other, they were not vaccinated, so we could not use those persons. But also in terms of our training and even field operations, that we could not train, say, 100 people at one time or even 50 persons at one time in the same center. So we had to break up our training into smaller groups and have it spread out a bit because of the COVID-19 protocols. Also, it involves some additional costs in terms of we have to provide field workers with such things as face masks, hand sanitizers, face shields. So those things came as an additional cost that initially was not budgeted for when we were working, starting putting our census budget together. But all in all, we are pushing on. With 2 weeks in the field, we have covered just about 3% of our estimated household population. Before we started census back in 2020, late 2020, we do have done a pre-census count. So that gave us a rough estimation of the population and household population. So working toward, looking at using those numbers to say we have covered about 3% of the household population already. And there's still a lot of work to do in terms of the data collection. There's still a lot of work to do in terms of the PR, social media, radio, TV broadcasts, the distribution of paraphernalia. All these activities are ongoing because we believe that they are critical to getting the corporation or household. So as much as possible, we are on the airways. We are out there in the public, encouraging everyone to participate. It doesn't matter your religion, your ethnicity, your immigration status. We want every single person to be counted. So that is my message to one and all. Everyone counts. Thank you for participating in the Population and Housing Census. I thank you.
Yes. We had a little issue with our jingle from Anguilla, so we'll take that in at this time.
Be counted. Make sure with all hands up. Do not be excluded. Make sure with all hands up. June 2022, census time on the island. We seeking information about the population. We want to know, did it shrink or did it grow? And if it grew, how will it impact me and you? And when it's time for your interview, cooperate, I'm begging you, be counted. Make sure with all hands up, be counted. Make sure with all hands up.
Anguilla's Housing and Population Census 2022.
And so we continue with our program here today. We continue. And introduce you to Ms. Boy. She's the director of the
Okay, I'm not hearing so clearly, so I assume from the list that I'm next. Good morning, everyone, colleagues and friends across the region, those listening and those online. From Jamaica, our census logo is your theme is You Count, Me Count, All We Count. That is Jamaica's patois. Our census day is actually September 12th, 2022. Unlike other persons in the region, Jamaica was impacted by COVID-19. So it was originally due in 2021, so it's now 2022, and this is Jamaica's 15th census. Our first census was in 1844. So the COVID impacted us, as I think St. Kitts mentioned, the issue of the budget from government, the issue of the outbreak, so you would not be able to do some of your activities. And also for us, it impacted us because of the global supply chain. So in Jamaica, we needed about 8,000 tablets, and there was the issue in getting the tablets on time. We now have received the tablets, so we are moving full steam ahead. Our recruitment started in March, and so the recruitment is complete. Our recruitment was solely online because we're going digital. Anything we are doing with our persons are digital. So we are now in the process. We undertook we did a pre-employment test, and we are now looking at screening to get the person. So this is the only face-to-face contact we have had with our possible interviewers. So the screening is taking place because training for us in Jamaica starts in June. So we'll be training persons. Our training this time, and COVID had some good impact because it forced us to move from the original face-to-face method that we were planning. So what we have is a mix of both face-to-face and virtual. And as part of that, we collaborated with the Mona School of Business at the UWI to build our online platform. A feature of our training, as part of our manual, we have developed a number of videos. And the reason we do that is so that we have a common message. So there are critical areas like the use of the tablets, the turning on of the tablets, issues dealing with the tablets. There are critical issues, for example, the economic issues that we are using videos. And the support, we got support from Statistics Canada in dealing with this. One of the features for us in Jamaica in doing this census is the collaboration with a number of agencies. So since the tablets, we worked in collaboration with an agency in Jamaica, which is called eLearning Jamaica. They are responsible for the Tablets in School program with the Ministry of Education here. And so part of the understanding we have is once we have finished with the tablets, they will be transitioned into the Tablets in School program here. We worked with another agency because previously in Jamaica, we did not produce data in communities. And that was a complaint from our stakeholders. So we worked with what is called the Social Development Commission, because they are a community-based organization to develop communities so that we can provide data for our stakeholders. We are working with a training agency in Jamaica called the Heart Trust, and they will be providing us with some of their trainees to work in, for example, what we call our editor coders system to help our tech support, because you're using tablets across the island, you're going to need a large number of tech support persons in the field to help. So they are providing that for us. So I think we're going through the process like most other persons. The difficulty, I think Grenada pointed out the difficulty which we expect is we'll be losing a number of persons as we go along. We have difficulty in Jamaica in areas where there's the tourism industry is high. You have difficulty attracting persons to participate in the census. So those are some of the issues that we will have to face. communication for us is a critical part of the census, because we need to make Jamaicans understand the importance of the census. So we have hired a communication consultancy firm. And so we hope that by about July, we will start ramping up our communication activities so that persons across Jamaica will understand the importance and will participate. So I think that is where we are. And we keep our fingers crossed that there's not another spike in COVID numbers, because like the rest of the some countries in the Caribbean, we have a low vaccination rate, and this can impact the census. We hope to be in the field in September, as I said, and we hope to be out by the second week in December. So that is our plan for census in Jamaica. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, Carol, for that presentation from out of we have a
Facebook question from Dylan,
and perhaps Harrison could come in and give us the data, the access by researchers. Dr. Harrison from the CARICOM, you might want to weigh in on this. Is Dr. Harrison weigh in with us? Mr. Williams,
Sorry, Keith. We are not hearing you. We think your mic is off. I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, the question.
Sorry, your mic is off again. Could you please repeat?
My mic is off. Okay, let me try again. How can this data be accessed by researchers? A question from a Mr. Williams via Facebook.
Yes, that's a very interesting question. At the national level, countries would disseminate the data. Some of them disseminated through a software that is supported by the Economic Commission of Latin America and the Caribbean called WeDatum. So a lot of the data, like from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, would be available online. Other countries, as persons indicated, would be given back in terms of stories and other things. But for research purposes, I would say largely through WeDatum databases online. And at the Secretariat, we have a census e-portal where we collect the data from since 1990 census actually, and that data would be available online through the Secretariat's website.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'd just like to acknowledge our media partners along the line for this CARICOM census update. We are streaming on the CARICOM Facebook page, CARICOM YouTube, Government of Anguilla webpage, or broadcast partners Radio Anguilla, News Talk Radio Guyana, and NCN Guyana. That's Radio Guyana. We'd like to thank you. Let's move quickly now to Belize, and Diana Castillo-Choho is the Director General of the Statistical Institute of Belize. Good to have you in this CARICOM census program today. What's happening on the ground in Belize, Diana?
Hi, good morning, Keith. Good morning, colleagues and friends across CARICOM. Here in Belize, we are just 2 weeks away from our census day, May the 12th, and the Statistical Institute of Belize is pretty much in the final stages of our preparations. All our census maps, our applications, they're all complete, and we've loaded them onto our 900 plus tablets. We've bought our extra servers so that we ensure that we have sufficient backup and to minimize any kind of data loss from equipment failure. We have procured all our equipment and supplies, and right now we're in the process of distributing to our 9 census regions and setting up regional census offices across the country. Right now, training of enumerators is underway in dozens of training sites countrywide, and we are also training our editor coders in a centralized editor coder lab that's housed here at our national university. And through all this, recruitment continues. We have had a high number of dropouts like many of our colleagues are experiencing across the region. both before and during the training, especially among our enumerator staff. Leading up to Census Day, our publicity campaign is going to be ramping up with the airing of promotional videos, media appearances. You'll be seeing a shift in our messaging towards more encouraging households to participate in the census, explaining to them what they can expect when our enumerators visit their homes, and basically trying to assure the public that we're taking all the necessary precautions so that data collection can be done safely, both for them, the public, and for our staff. Like my colleagues have mentioned, the road to Census Day has not been without its challenges. Staffing for us is one of the major challenges that we've experienced, especially in the rural areas of the country. So because of the high rate of dropouts that we're experiencing during the training period, we have had to organize a second round of training that wasn't planned for in May, after data collection has already started. Of course, another big constraint for us is budgetary constraints. Although the government of Belize has committed to providing all the funds that we requested for the census, rapidly rising prices for things like fuel and other supplies means that we more than likely, or we probably will be facing a budgetary shortfall. So closing this gap, we have to cut back in other areas wherever we can. And we're looking at the possibility, of course, of foregoing our post-enumeration survey if it comes to that. On top of all this, the pandemic has brought its own set of challenges. These include things like overcoming respondent hesitancy, having to have in place contingency plans in the event of another wave of infections during the data collection period. But despite all this, we continue moving forward. This round of the census in Belize is going to include a number of innovations that we hope are going to enhance the final product. These include fully electronic data collection, the management of our fieldwork using a suite of applications that we developed in-house for the census, the inclusion of the geospatial component in our data collection, and a collaboration with several of our key partners to produce a series of thematic reports after the census using the data that's collected. Our aim is to complete the data collection safely and quickly. We have an ambitious timeline of 10 weeks, and we hope to have a first set of results from our long-awaited census data by the end of this year. So that's just briefly, what's been happening here in Belize. I would like to thank our host and CARICOM for the opportunity to share what we have been doing in preparation for the census. I want to wish our colleagues in the region all the best with their censuses, and I pass back to you, Keith.
Director General out of the Statistical Office Institute, that is in Belize. And we can in fact take in the jingle from Belize at this time.
Make we come. Make we one house at a time, make we count for the 2022 census. One house at a time, make we count work towards the future. Everybody count one house at a time, make we count for the 2022 census. One house at a time, make we count work towards the future. Everybody count. We need information and your cooperation. Everybody in the Belize population. Mommy, daddy, pick me on the senior section. Just we need help from the youth population. From all over, we need data to measure development in every area, every aspect in the Belize and culture. 88, 67, every border. Make we count for the 2022 census. One house at a time, make we count work towards the future. Everybody count.
And so we move to Guyana, the home of the CARICOM Secretariat. We have Ms. Vanessa Prophet. She is the head of Division Demography Statistics in Georgetown, Guyana. Thank you so very much for joining us, Vanessa. Please tell us about the census taking program in Guyana. You might want to turn your mic on, Vanessa.
Yes, thank you once again. Thank you, Keith, and good morning, everyone that is listening to this program this morning. Guyana's planning and preparation for the 2022 census was informed by the lessons learned for past censuses, as well as experiences of sister member states and regional and international partners to ensure that the planning, preparation, and execution of the census is in keeping with international standards. The method of planning and preparation execution is overseen by a census management committee that has been established within the Bureau of Statistics. Guyana Census Day has been identified as the 15th of September 2022 for an enumeration period of 8 weeks. This will be the first time Guyana will be undertaking a census using tablets. So all mechanisms are being put in place to facilitate that process. We have completed the conversion of our paper questionnaires into digital format. We have also completed our manuals, which will provide guidance to the enumerators when they're conducting their interviews. We have also commenced procurement of materials and supplies, and like most member states would have indicated, we also have concerns with sourcing of the requisite material, particularly the tablets, given the issues internationally with the sourcing of supplies. However, we seem to be on track, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that all goes well. We have completed the pre-testing of our questionnaire. This was done in the third quarter of 2021, which we would have tested the questionnaires to see if they would produce the desired outcomes we're looking for from the questions that would have been designed in collaboration by member states for the 2020 round of Population and Housing Census. We have also started recruitment of our personnel. We are expected to recruit approximately 3,000 temporary personnel in regions 1, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this process will continue until June of 2022. And we are in the process of preparing for a pilot census in May 2022. This is to test the readiness of our preparation for the execution of census in September. We are also currently exploring the hiring of a PR firm. As my colleagues would have indicated, that publicity and educating of the population is critical to the success of a census. And as a statistical office, we do not necessarily possess the expertise for conducting and public education awareness program. So we believe it is more effective when the people with the expertise undertake such an undertaking. So we are currently exploring that process to have a firm on board that will work with us to educate our population from regions 1 to 10. We are also undertaking a revisit of our 2022 budget, given the increasing prices in transportation, fuel, and all other supplies. Of course, that will have an adverse impact on your budget, which would have been planned a year or two ago. So we are undertaking that review. Also taking into account COVID-19, the entire region and the world has been affected by COVID-19. We have factored that into our planning and preparation as well, because we would not want to put the population at risk, nor our personnel at risk. So systems are in place for that. And unlike other member states, we have geographical concerns, as Guyana has a wide geographical spread with difficult terrain. So we're faced with high transportation costs, which we of course factor into our budget, but then supply and demand will take effect, and we will try as best as possible to plan for that. In addition to that, as you may be aware, is that Guyana has had an influx of foreign speaking individuals into the country. So we would have to cater for translator. So because we do not want anyone to feel excluded, whomever is in Guyana on the 15th of September, 2022, has to be counted in the population. So we would not want anyone to be excluded because they're not of English speaking origin. So we are putting systems in place to address that. And at this time, I'd like to encourage all Guyanese, all individuals in Guyana on September 15th to participate in this process, so that they can be part of the solution to any social issues that they may feel they're facing. At this time, I'd like to thank you for listening.
And we want to thank you as well, Vanessa. We are right at that moment of the rounding up of this particular program. But before we do so, we'd certainly like to have a quick word in from Ms. Tracy Tabucci, Project Coordinator, Project for Regional Advancement of Statistics in the Caribbean from Canada. Canada has been a major partner with CARICOM on the whole census program in the Caribbean. So Tracy, a quick word from you.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Graves. Thanks so much for inviting us to participate today. So just to note that I do work at Statistics Canada on PRASC, and this project aims to help strengthen the statistical systems of CARICOM countries by improving socioeconomic measures and supporting evidence-based decision-making. This 8-year project, funded by the Government of Canada, started in 2015. And since then, Statistics Canada has been working with 14 CARICOM member states, the Caribbean Community Secretariat, and the OECS Commission. We all know that high quality official statistics are the foundation of good governance. And that's why collaborations over the course of the project have focused on improving methodologies and approaches for the production of official statistics. Additionally, we've helped national statistical offices increase adherence to modern and international standards in the areas of national accounts, business and household surveys, and communications and dissemination. So the PRASC project will be ending March 31st, 2023. And during this last year, our main focus is to provide support for the 2020 round of population and housing censuses. A census is one of the most important sources of data for governments. It's used to make informed decisions at all levels about social and economic planning and programming. It's an important source of data for businesses, schools, hospitals, and a number of other institutions as they develop programs and initiatives. The Population and Housing Census is also essential for understanding how your country and region are changing over time, knowledge which contributes to the overall well-being of citizens and communities. So given the importance of the census, you might be asking specifically how PRASC is supporting the 14 participating Caribbean national statistical offices with their population and housing censuses. So the focus will be on supporting census preparedness and providing assistance in the planning and project management aspects of census operations. As with our Caribbean partners, Canada had to adapt to the reality of conducting a census during a pandemic. And so PRASC will continue to share Statistics Canada's knowledge and experience on subjects such as data collection, geographic information systems or GIS, data processing, data quality, confidentiality, and data analysis, among others. So the project will continue to work with the Caribbean Community Secretariat, whose role is that of central coordinator of the population and housing census activities to ensure alignment with regional strategies. So I hope this has given you a sense of how Statistics Canada, through the PRASC project, is working with countries in the Caribbean to support this current round of population and housing censuses towards success. Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you so very much, Tracy, for that. We'll have a quick word in from Dr. Harrison from the CARICOM standpoint, and then we'll put a wrap on this particular program. Dr. Harrison?
Yes, thank you very much, Keith. I just want to thank Radio Anguilla, to thank Laurie Ray for this collaboration. And just to say very succinctly, census is everyone's business. We have heard about nation building, about building resilience, about sustainable development. Let us go forward and ensure that throughout the region, all countries are able to undertake a census and that it results in high quality statistics. So leave no one behind, in the words of the SDGs, everyone counts. Thank you all for this program.
And we want to thank you so very much, Dr. Harrison. We take you out of this census program with the jingle out of Guyana. We would like to thank all the participants this morning. We are out of time, but we'd like to take you out with this jingle out of Guyana.
Guys, as though we're having a
issue with our jingle out of Guyana, and we do apologize for that. Again, we would just like to thank everyone, all the participants from the various countries for the updates. Thank CARICOM, thank the Canadians who've been involved with this as well. And all the best to those who've completed and to those going forward with the census. And again, to the populations in the various islands we want to encourage everyone to get on board. But before we go, it would be remiss of me if we didn't take in a quick word from Ken Banks, one of the statistical ambassadors here in Anguilla. Quick word from you, Mr. Banks, and then we'll close.
Yeah, thanks, Keith, for having me. It was a pleasure being here and hearing what's going on. I think census is very important, not just for business, but also for our young people who are doing work in school. I mean, there's so many requests for information, and this is very important for learning, for knowing, for planning. In fact, you said the census for census was 1840. I actually have a census from 1819 in Anguilla, but that was not it was not confidential, because you have the names of all the persons, the householders, and their children, boys, girls, wives, and slaves. Yeah, so census has been around for a while, and it's very important that we know the numbers, know what the facilities are like in the homes. We need to know what planning, and we need to know what the level of living is, standard of living is in Ireland. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so very much to our census ambassador, one of our census ambassadors here in Anguilla. Folks, here's where we'll end it. Again, thanks for joining us to our media on LCN.
We want to thank you.
I'm sorry, looking at
yeah.